What's up, y'all? This is Ron coming back at you with yet another car video. Social class plays a big part in the game. Yeah, I don't mean football game either. Yeah, I'm happy the Commanders won in overtime last night against the Atlanta Falcons. Clinched the playoffs and stuff. And a serious winning record for the first time in a very long time. I'm like, yeah. Oh, DC. Yeah. Anyway, right? Social class plays a big part in the game. You know, a lot of people think, it's just like a lot of guys think it's just, they just get out there, see some woman and everything. It depends on your class what you can get. Because a lot of times we don't care as much. Most men don't care as much about class. She got that body we like. We don't give a shit. In fact, when I've talked about this before, guys have pushed back against it. But with women especially, they care about class. And you need to be thinking about class anyway. Because that's going to determine, first of all, which women you can get. Like if you some roughneck looking dude, some Pookie and Ray Ray looking dude, you only going to get certain women. Oh, let me talk about that Pookie and Ray Ray thing. For the most part, if you look at the women they get, they're in the same class level. If you take an honest look at them, either honest look how they look how they wear their hair, look how they even speak. There's no real difference between them and Pookie and Ray Ray. They're on the same level. That's why I always say guys shouldn't worry about it. See, Pookie and Ray Ray doing me a favor. They taking up women I wouldn't deal with anyway because I care about class. Like, even though y'all see me on here and I be cursing and acting all rough, there's also Rom that be on Saturdays and Sundays and stuff. It's always have a bookcase behind me. I'm always more intellectual. So the best women for me, always like the educated type. So those are women I can usually have that conversation with. Those are the best women class-wise for me, right? But see, I understand that. But see, a lot of guys don't understand that or understand why certain women might reject them. A big reason is class. Like if you get some woman, she's like got a couple degrees, she's wearing her hair a certain way, she got certain speech intonations. She ain't gonna, for the most part, she ain't done with no thug dude. And even when she get with a thug dude, usually, because I know some dudes be like, well, I seen this woman, and she was this and that, and she was with that thug dude. Find out where that woman's from. In many cases, I say in most cases, not many, most cases, you talk to that woman or you find out where she from, you find out she came from that environment. She was imprinted by men from that environment, because that's the biggest thing. Because when women are choosing a man, especially, the environment that the men came from plays a major issue. Plays a major part. It's a social class part. Let me shout out Master Teacher BGS because he always talks about the octane models. He'll talk about the ratchets, the working class women, the women who kind of in between, the women who what he called the 92 octanes. Those are more educated women, corporate women. And then you got the women who can deal with like those serious ballers. Those are all class things. And plays a big part in the game. Like, if you're approaching a woman, right? Like, in most cases, like, let me get to that Pookie and Ray Ray thing. Most cases, if you're approaching, like, a woman who has degrees and she's from, I say, upper middle class, but you're looking like Joe Roughneck, and that's the one I usually talk about, but you're looking like Joe Roughneck, you got tats and stuff, a lot of cases, she ain't gonna fuck with you. A lot of cases. There's always an exception. And please don't come on here giving me the exception. But a lot of cases, she ain't gonna fuck with you. She ain't gonna find you attractive. Because I know plenty of women like that now. Plenty of women who are, you know, they're everything from professors, they attorneys, they doctors. If you look at how they carry themselves, they ain't messing with anybody who's just going to look like they just out of the hood or anything like that. It's a different class thing. Or even sometimes working class. It could be a nice working class dude, but certain women ain't going to mess with them. Or even if you go as far as those ratchets. If you look at who, let's use those ratchets. A lot of dudes be concerned over who they get with. Ratchets they staying in their lane. Most ratchet women stay in their lane. You know, they ain't trying to read or to have a conversation with you or talk, or you can't take them with you. Like, you get some dudes up here, you know, they might have a degree or something. Wondering why they can't deal with that ratchet woman. That ratchet woman got a fat ass, but she ratchet. You know, she ratchet. You know, she best woman for like some guys who's going to, you know, they're more educated. They got a little bit of money going for them. The best woman for them is a woman similar class. And see, that makes a big difference, because even if you really want to break down classes, even how you wear stuff. Like, I saw a clip from somebody, it was on IG. I should have saved that joint. But he was talking about facial hair in different classes. Like, you get some guys, upper middle class guys, upper middle class, not somebody working class, but upper middle class guys, they, you know, they typically ain't gonna have like that beard game going and everything, you know. Because even I know some people have noticed, like, I've been shaving my beards a lot, shaving my beard and mustache a lot. That's because I'm doing something with Smooth T Mac, and I've shared the videos on my community page where I'm playing like a billionaire, a criminal billionaire, but still a billionaire. Everything has got to be shaved. I got to look clean cut, you know. But then you get some guys, you know, they got the beards, they got the tats, everything. They looking rough. They can deal with more rough things. That's something to consider. Like, okay, what class do you look like? What class do you represent? And when I say class, it ain't even about money, because you got some dudes who are working class who making some money. Class is more about behavior and stuff. If you talk to some like licensed sociologists and stuff, they'll tell you that's more about behavior than class. Shit, it ain't about the money. Shoot, you got, if you look at sports or some of these entertainers, they still, yeah, they making money, but it's about like level of behavior and stuff. Literally class. Like elders would say, act like you got some class. Because that's what it really come down to. Because think about relationships in general. Relate. You got to relate to the person. You know? You got to hang out in the same place. You know, like I always tell that story about when I was went to two different parties, but they were two different class levels. Like the women, like the first one was like a pool party. Every woman in there except one had that belly. Everyone had babies, all of that. I'm gonna get into that in a second too. Everyone got into babies, and all of them had like belly poking out, except for one, right? But you could tell their class level, how they carried themselves, how they spoke, and everything. But then the next day, the next evening, I went to a party. This was upper middle class, and these looked like Barbies in there. In fact, I remember one time to one of those parties, I went with a couple friends of mine. They didn't feel comfortable at all being around these Barbies. Because these women were definitely upper class. Whereas the women that came with me, they were more solid middle class. Or just a step above working class. And, you know, that's the thing. There's always something. There's always something. You know, and like I was going to mention earlier, you know, when and I mentioned that even earlier than that. You know, when you talk about these guys, well, when you talk about these guys who are worried about all these women got babies and single moms and all of that, it's very rare that these are upper class women. Very rare. It ain't impossible, but it's rare. But that tells me a lot. If a woman that you dealing with most of the time, that says a lot about you and what your class is. Because as they move up in class, less likely they're going to have children. Like, I say, y'all can't go by, because I know y'all see me doing these car videos, but I say the best indicator of who I am is either on my deep thought videos, really my money videos, or any videos where I got the bookcase behind me, where I'm more in Professor Rom mode. That's the best indicator of my personality and everything. And when I think about the overwhelming majority of women I know, don't have children. They don't have children. They don't have kids or anything. But that's also a class thing. I also know a lot of women who are very well educated. If you look at the women, like my co-parent, I'll use her for an example. I lost count of how many degrees she got. And even when you deal with women like that, if they have kids, if you ask them, usually they usually have been married or something. It's never a case where they just have random kids or, you know, like that. Like even like I always talk about those balloon pop shows. The overwhelming majority of women I've seen on there, they couldn't get a high value man. They couldn't get a well educated man. The overwhelming majority. Every now and then they might have one who might be up there. But most of them as Master Teacher BGS will call them 89 octanes at best. 87 and 89s. 87s are more working class. 89s, they might have a degree, but they can go to a higher level, didn't have 2 degrees. But that's still a class thing. And in fact, at that class level, they even more concerned at a class level about your appearance and everything. Because the higher you go in class, yeah, they'll pay attention to your appearance, but they also want to know where you get your degrees and everything. Because as they move up in class, one thing with that, they mate from that. As you move up in class, you will mate from the neck up, which means you're going to think about it more. And from the neck down is more about how good you look, or it's more about the physicality and everything. You know, that's one thing. It's one thing. It's some other stuff too. I don't even know if I want to get into it. Well, you know what? Let me get into it. Even sexuality. They're more open sexually as they in the more lower classes, but more upper classes, yeah, they'll get into it, but they looking at other factors. I remember me in a private group, we were discussing that a few weeks ago. You know, it's like certain areas and stuff. They want to know. They want to know where your degree from. They want to know what you got going on. You know, I remember I had mentioned before when I went to this upper class event with this attorney. I went with this attorney, and I had to shave all this off. I had to make sure my suit was right. I remember I told this lady, I said to her, she asked me my name, and I just like, oh yeah, it's just Rom. Rom what? She was like, I know she looked me up. But that's how they think. But it plays a big part in the game. That's one thing. That's one thing you can't get past, or everything. A lot of guys, especially, even some women, because they still they show some clips. They still show clips of Kevin Samuels, may he rest in peace. And they had these lower class women think they're going to get some high value man. Please, that shit won't happen. That shit won't happen. Because when men get to that high level, you get those high level men, they picky as hell. They picky as hell. Most of those women had zero chance of getting it. Best way those women would have got a 6-figure man, they get some working class dude. They get some working class dude, some plumber, some truck driver, something like that. Because men they get to that level, they want a woman who can roll at that level. They want a woman who can roll at that level. They ain't gonna just get any woman. But that plays I'm gonna tell you what though, it plays a major part. Like, you know, I was saying earlier about Pookie and Ray Ray. I'm not competing with them. If you at a certain class level, you ain't competing with them. You ain't competing with them. What you worried about Pookie and Ray Ray for? You know, if you're at a certain level, you shouldn't be concerned about them. You're at a certain level. They ain't in the same class. You shouldn't be worried about it. And if you get a woman who's going for that says something there. Because that's something else too. If you get a woman going for a certain type of guy, that's so they can... Shit. That says something about their class and everything. Because one thing, women stay in their class most of the time. Most of the time. There's some exceptions when you talk about true hypergamy. True hypergamy is more like going up in class. Only a few women can practice that, and there's usually some very beautiful women and shit. And even they gotta have some class to them. So, anyway. And y'all need to really think about that class thing. That ain't no joke. That ain't something like just to play around with. See, one thing I've seen that shit. Damn good. One thing about me, I've just been exposed to different levels of class. Just been exposed from lower to high. Been around them all. That's why I was able to see stuff. And I can code switch between classes. And it is what it is. Just how I lived. You know, just how I lived. A blessing in disguise in a way. That means I could walk any place and not worry about shit. But anyway, though, go ahead and get some vittles. I gotta get a lot of vittles. My son is still at the house. Yeah, they make sure I gotta get a lot of stuff. Anyway, y'all, I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. Last day of 2024. What a year. What a year. But 2025 will be even better. I ain't worried about shit. Got a lot going on. So anyway, though, I get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.